Hi there, Rafi.
Hi. Hi.
Do you want to start us? Let's start on time. Dev.
Start on time. Okay. Yeah, well, you're starting on time. I want to welcome everyone to join us Tuesdays for Present Happiness. And present happiness is also present forgiveness. We're going to bring that up later in the evening. And something that I picked up today from something I never really saw in the course. But present happiness is also present forgiveness. And it always happens in the present. Notice lesson 157, one of the holiest lessons in the course. It says, into his presence would I enter now. So being present in the now is the most healing thing you can do for yourself, literally. And I'll turn this mic on back over to you, Rosalind.
All right. Hi, Franca. It's so nice to see you. We have a small group here, so I have a slideshow to show you their different riffs on one sentence from Rupert Spira. And we're going to do a meditation that puts you in the mood. But first, I want to ask you, especially since we're not a huge group yet, most people have either on a certain day, but even over more than one day, there's a certain topic, like you either go over your body, or you go over money, or you go over a relationship. There's a favorite topic that the separate self likes to ruminate over if one steps out of oneness. So I always know if I've stepped out of oneness, because even a glance in the mirror that where I'm looking to see how my weight is a reminder that I'm back into something I used to be in, that I have left, but I have walked through that doorway. So, because I used to be a compulsive overeater and I was obese and so on. So it's not that all of that comes back, but I'm entering the domain. It's not like washing my face and seeing my face in the mirror. It's a special look. Can you share in the chat, if you go back to a relationship, just the general subject, what you go back to? Hi, Lynn. Yeah. I'm not hearing you.
I always seem to talk first.
Please talk first. You're not as shy as some.
What recurs with me is feelings of panic, feelings of desperation.
Mm-hmm. But do you have a subject that it generally, like a theme, like I'm alone, or money, or I'm not liked, or does the anxiety have a theme? Is it different every single day, or is there?
It comes out of nowhere.
But what is the content? Does it have a theme? Like I'm not safe, or there must be. I can't say there must be. There usually is a theme to our preoccupations.
I'm a horrible person.
Okay, there you go. So not good enough is the theme. Somehow you did wrong. Something is not going to go well because you're not good enough. Does that make sense? So generally, then it has a more specific ring for each situation, right?
Yeah, it could come out of anywhere.
Yes, I get it. No, I totally get it.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what we're going to talk about. These thoughts and feelings come and go. So anybody else? Did we have in the chat any of these written or Body issues, great, for certain. Thinning hair is one, great. Thank you, Franca. Rafi, let's see. My mind wants to believe. Still need glasses to drive, although I've had a perfect vision for years. Another is be afraid of disapproval. Thank you. Okay. Does anybody here have physical pain? Nobody goes to physical pain. Isabel, sometimes? Yes?
Well, a little bit, not like I used to.
Okay.
It's pretty minimal, so I kind of ignore it.
Okay.
really.
So what I'm getting at is there seems to be two I'm generalizing. When we are in the personality, there seems to be either the type of person who makes things bigger, like, oh my God, when the feeling comes, oh my God, it's, happening again. What am I going to do? It just making it bigger, adding to it that way. And then there's generally another kind of personality that will push it away, try to be happy, try to be positive, try to do something else, get away from it. So either bring it close or get away, if I'm being general. Which of those two, if you had to pick, would you pick in this group that you do? Franca?
Definitely make it bigger.
Make it bigger. And Carol, what would you do?
Same thing, make it bigger.
Make it bigger. Isabel?
The opposite.
You try to go away from it. Yeah.
Make it
Okay.
less.
Rico,
Yeah.
can you following what we're saying?
I am. I'm already on a airplane on my way to Costa Rica.
He's running away.
Are you running away? I got it now. Thank you. Oh, yeah. Okay, I got it now. And Rafi?
Well, because I use the releasing technique, what I do is welcome the feeling and then release it.
Okay,
So-
but before you do your technique, would
Yeah.
you be likely to make it bigger or run away?
I would say neither. I just accept it as is. I don't-
Okay, so what you're saying is beautiful. You're saying that your practice has become so much a part of your personality that you don't do either. You just go into the practice.
Yeah.
Okay. And Kathleen, you came on late. Do you have your following what we're saying? Can
Yeah,
you
I
get
did. I put something in the chat. For
Oh,
me, it's dental issues,
dental? Huh?
and I definitely make it. I bring it in real close.
And do you make it bigger?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so in the meditation we're going to do next, if you're one that already makes things bigger, when I talk about letting it be, notice if you're adding to it, like paragraphs to whatever it is, or if you are the ones, we only have a couple, and Rafi, since you go to a technique and it works, go, if you would, just for this exercise with Rico and Isabel, with making it bigger, just for the experiment. Okay, do you know what I mean? Like add to it, like just, or not even add thoughts, but just allow an expansion of whatever the thought was, just like see it bigger. So Dove, are you following what we're doing? Did you pick one or the other? Would you make it bigger if you were lost your mind?
Well, I'm kind of like Rafi.
You'd
I
go
don't
to-
pay it.
you'd go-
I
you'd
I
go
don't
to
pay
a-
it that much mind,
You would
but
go
I
to a
can.
lesson.
But I can for the process if that, if that helps. I don't know.
Well, if you were, can you remember back? Well, let's say, no, yeah, I would say because you use a course lesson just like this, it's right there. Like Rafi goes to his technique. Allow it to be whatever it is without a course statement,
Okay.
just for the exercise. All right. So if you would join me, taking a deep breath and welcoming your day, welcoming this moment, welcoming this time together, and starting with remembering a momentary trigger or a contraction. It might not have even been as big as a trigger, or it might have been a trigger. And go back to before you did a technique or before you remembered the wisdom of the course. And just notice it's a thought, it's a feeling, it's a sensation. And take a deep breath and allow it to just be what it is. And notice if there's any contraction about allowing something to be, let's say it was an attack thought, a judgment of yourself, someone else. Notice how you want to fix it, maybe either get rid of it with a technique or go on a trip, get away from it. Or you make it bigger, 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 bigger until you're really believing it. But for right now, just imagine that you're the ocean. You're a big, wide ocean. But you happen to appear right now as a wave. And you look around and you see other waves that are bigger, smaller, and there's a lot of action in this wave. And you're moving with the wave. But you're just moving without any thoughts or feelings or even techniques. The wave comes and the wave goes, and then another wave comes and another wave goes. And there's action. But underneath and around the action of this wave is the oneness of the ocean. That this wave that you are never stop being part of. It looked, like a big wave or like a small wave, not good enough wave. If you like waves, you know, we could categorize the waves, but the waves are all the ocean. And now take a deep breath. Another breath. And another breath. And go back and visit that trigger or that momentary contraction. And if you would open your eyes now and tell me any word that comes to you about how that contraction appears now.
It's gone.
It's gone, yeah. It's nothing. Is right?
Right. It's disappeared.
Disappeared.
Quiet,
What was that?
a lot of quiet.
Very quiet, yes. Yes. And so I'm going to screen share, and it should be pretty easy for you to come back because we weren't gone that long. And just a second. Okay, so here's a slide. I'm going to go to present. No, that's not going to work as well. I got to get rid of all the pictures for me. Okay. No, that's not going to work. Okay, this is maybe going to work. Okay. I gotta go back to. Okay, no, I'm sorry here. I have to get rid of these pictures. There. No, it keeps coming back. I got it done. Okay. Openness to all experience, whoops, is not something we do. I'm going to have to do this. Openness to all experience is not something we do. It is what we are. Now, don't we often think of let me be open as though it's an action? Isn't this pretty incredible that it might be what we are? Is that a new vision for anybody? Carol, please.
Well, it eliminates separation and enables me to know again and reinforce that truth that I don't have to do anything. I am already it.
Isn't that so?
Yeah, it's very clear. And it seemed very simple when I first read it. I thought, oh yeah, well, and then I really looked at it and I thought, this is something else. This is another way of knowing that I need do nothing. I am already that I want to be, or I think I want to be.
Yeah, and we just had our own experience of this because we didn't do openness. We either allowed it to be or we didn't add paragraphs to what was already. And we went to the ocean. We didn't go to do anything. We had just allowed it. Dove likes to say, allowing is a very important word. It's really up there with oneness and openness. But we don't have to do anything. That's so exciting, isn't it? Anybody else have a comment? Either to your experience? Lynn, please.
It's strength, it's trust in the strength I am.
Yeah. Wide open. Wide open is what we are. So let's see. What about this? So I did some slides that riffed on Rupert's first slide. What if you take yourself as a room without edges? We're just the holding of that ocean, a room that has no boundaries. Is that inviting to you? Do you like the ocean better than the room, or are they the same? Can you share with me?
Room to me is kind of enclosed. So that word is a little more constricting, I think.
And
Then
without the edges doesn't open the room?
not, well, because my concept of a room is a finite place. And so,
Okay.
yeah, so for me, the ocean is easier,
More helpful.
more helpful. Yeah, that's, yeah.
Good. Thank you. Anybody else?
Kind of reminds me of my father has a mansion with many rooms. and the rooms don't have any edges. So
Mhm,
we're living in the kingdom, and the
Mhm.
kingdom has no perimeter. Nothing surrounds the kingdom. It
Mhm.
has no, it's limitless.
Mhm. And I encourage you to add all the words, to notice, yes, I like the ocean, but you never know. One day that room might be your doorway. You know, when you feel all bottled up and, you know, contracted, and you think of the ocean as your technique, and that day you're tired of the ocean, you're mad at the ocean, it's just not a word that's opening. Just keep that room in mind, because we don't know, like Carol said, we don't know what a room is without edges. So it could actually open your mind because you don't know what it is. So if you ask your mind, show me a room without edges, it can only take you to something outside of your ego, because your ego doesn't know what that is. Okay. In our home, we host feelings, thoughts. I have to get rid of these pictures again, and sensations. So what I'm loving about this, oh, then it pops up somewhere else. But you're not seeing all my pop-ups, right? You're just seeing the screen. That's great. So in our home, we host feelings, thoughts, and sensations. So what does that mean to you, to anybody? If we're the host. Franca, you're muted.
Oh, sorry. No, I think I'm unmuted now, right?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. It means that they're not permanent.
Yeah.
You know, like if we're hosting, it's just for a while, they're
Mhm.
temporary, and then we're not hosting any longer.
Yeah, and then they go. They're not part of you, and they're not part of the the room without edges or the ocean. They come and go. They're like the weather. Rafi, you wanted to add something? Thank you. That's beautiful.
Pretty much that a host welcomes everything,
Yes. Yes.
but yes, they don't live there, and they're in the,
Yeah.
and then they're out the door. But there's no, you can't come in here. There's
Exactly. If you're the good host, yeah.
welcome. There's even a technique we use called triple welcoming. So this goes right along with that.
Oh, I like that. I like that. All right. Okay, Lynn, please. You're muted. Lynn.
Muted, you're muted.
Sorry. And what we host, we're not afraid of. Like Rafi said, we welcome.
Yes, that's
No, we don't bar the doors.
yes. When I'm contracting or running away or making something bigger makes it into something it never was. Remember that feelings and sensations and thoughts only last under 90 seconds unless we add paragraphs to them. Unless we add this and bring the future and the past up, and then we're into, you know, the circus that we all know. So the next one is, we need not make
I
feelings.
wanted to comment on that last one.
What's that, Brett? What's that?
I wanted to comment on.
Oh, good. I didn't see your picture. Go ahead.
Okay. Suzuki, who is a Zen teacher, he's a Zen master.
Mhm.
He says, you know, your thoughts, allow them come through the front door, pass right through, and usher them right out the back door. But of all means, do not serve them tea.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So he said, don't entertain your thoughts. You know,
Yes.
you know, you have thoughts, just let them move right through. It doesn't mean anything.
Right. I love that. I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a great picture. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great visual thing. Yeah.
And that kind of goes with this one. We need not make feelings, thoughts, and sensations our home. They're our visitors. And then let me get rid of this again. The wave of the ocean. Here it is. I, the wave of the ocean, am open to all experiences. I, the wave of the ocean, am open to all experiences. How does that feel? Do you want to try that one on for yourself? How does that fit with our short meditation? Just claiming that your experience. You know something. If you had an experience where it was either nothing or you relaxed into allowing, then that's yours. You know something. That wasn't just a meditation state or something you did in a class. It's yours if you claim it. Comments? Does that one, I have to tell you why I really want to know which of these is helpful to you. I'm going to be the speaker and the host on Sunday. And I don't know if I'll use any of these because Spirit will decide by Sunday what happens. But if any of these are more useful to you, because, I only know my own reaction, but I'd love to hear what feels, if any of them feel helpful. Was that meditation helpful where you were the ocean? Yes, Rafi, please.
Well, when you're doing that, you become the witness to feelings and thoughts, and you realize they aren't what you are, and then you can simply welcome them and let them go. It puts you in a situation where, for want of a better word, you're in charge, and they aren't, because your mind wants to take over and wants you to think that that's who you really are, and when you know you're not, and you sit back and you become the awareness or consciousness of it all, and you can watch that flow and realize, okay, feelings, they came up, they're emotional all the time. They came up to leave, welcome them, let them leave. So let's come to, like somebody said, in the front door, out the back door. Then you become what you really are, which is the awareness of all of that. And it can't own you anymore.
Yes, beautifully said. Thank you. Yes, Lynn.
Well, first of all, I love your shirt, Rico. Club Sober. And that reminds me, in AA, they always say, feelings are not facts.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
Not facts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rosalind, first of all, good evening, everyone. Thank you for letting me be here. I was trying to feel it instead of just be cognizant with it. I like the feel of that I am the wave of the ocean. For me, I feel very open. I'm welcoming everything and everyone, and there's enough space to move along as you see fit. I'm just going to stay open and loving. That's kind of the picture I got from I am the wave of the ocean.
Thank you. I like
not looking to duplicate, just I am the wave of the ocean. It feels free. It's very freeing for me.
Mm. And you know that if everybody in this group said they didn't have a lot of pain, but if you know someone who's in a lot of pain, they usually imagine that they feel all the pain all day. And so if you ask them to use the word sensation instead of pain, that begins a curiosity. Pain has a story. The word pain has a story. And then if you allow them actually to, in the meditation, encourage them to make it bigger, 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 it leaves the body. Can you imagine? Because it just gets so big that there are no more edges of a body. It just goes out, 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 out. it's just something really good to know. Yes, Lynn.
When I was younger, I always wrote poetry about the ocean. And the way we're talking, it reminds me of a poem that I wrote many, many years ago.
Yes, yes.
I'm going to try to remember it. The waves of the ocean so high in the night. I lie there smiling at the moon, and they caress me hard and demanding, yet so tender and gentle, loving my soul. My flesh escapes me, my spirit knows the sun, and I submerge totally into the womb of the water. Peacefully floating with the waves, there I remain, smiling at the sun.
Wow.
Wow, wow, wow,
Wow.
amazing.
That's a beautiful one.
Thank you.
Mm.
So many years ago.
Well, it stays with you beautifully. Kathleen, you said, I like that. Which was it?
I think it was the host of our feelings and not,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
yeah. And I like the ocean metaphor, I guess.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Very comforting.
Yeah. Yeah. Franca.
Rosalind, I can really relate to the ocean too. And when Rico and Lynn were both speaking, I remember being a child, I couldn't swim. I couldn't believe my mother let me go in the ocean, but I just remember floating, like I was up on my tippy toes and had the sensation of just floating and being totally carefree and being loved and supported, you know, by the water. So it's a very, very comforting feeling, the ocean.
Mhm.
Unless you've had a bad experience, I guess. At least I think so. Mhm.
That's beautiful. And
Thank
can you imagine if we push this metaphor even more widely, if we say that the wave had an ego and started comparing to other waves, how ridiculous what it is we do, right? Because we can see that it's all water. And at the moment it looks this way and that way, and that's us. That's us. We can really take this in and have this be our doorway, our reminder, our portal. Deb, you look like you want to say something.
What Frank had just said reminded me of 3 words that have come into my mind this past week, which I want to share. One is carefree. I think Franca used the word. She was in the ocean and she was just carefree. The other 2 words are clueless and cared for.
I like that.
They're all C words. So when you are the ocean, and I also see like Pima Chodron, and I use her example a lot, and I mentioned it here in previous sessions. Pima says, you are the sky. You're not the weather forecast. You don't have to worry about the weather, the details. You are the sky. You're infinite. You have no borders. It's spacious skies. But when you serve the thoughts tea, you start worrying about the weather. And you start getting into the details and you think you have to know something. The belief you have to know something is always the ego. Ego lives on I have to understand this. If I don't understand it, how can I accept it? So the ego is like a controller. It controls. Notice that when Rosalind was going through the thing, she says, there's no doing involved. The only doer is the ego. The ego thinks it has to do something in order to achieve something. No, you can be clueless, carefree, and perfectly cared for. Perfectly cared for. Yeah. So your willingness to just be, and the course is very clear in the idea of being, doing, and having. It says there's no doing in being, and being and having are the same. In your being, you already have everything. You don't have to do anything. Now, the ego says, wait a minute, if I don't do, how can I pay the rent? You know, it's always coming up with a controlling factor. I got to do this. I got to do that. And of course, as you said, I think it was you, Carol, who said, I need do nothing, which he says will save you 100 years of trying to figure it out. If you try and figure it out, it's always the ego. Ego says, well, I don't understand this.
Mhm.
He tells you this in chapter 18, section 4. Your understanding is not necessary. Only your willingness is necessary. Are you willing to be free? Are you willing for peace? Are you willing for happiness? Only your willingness is necessary. Notice lesson 101, God's will for me is perfect happiness. Lesson 102, and I share God's will for my happiness. We have the same will. Only your willingness is necessary, not your understanding.
So Dove, if like a lot of people have a beautiful experience and then they discount it, would you say that's unwillingness to claim it?
I think when you say they discount it,
They discount it in the sense of the learning, of the insight, of making it theirs. Like, let's just use the example. We're pretty much in agreement that the ocean is helpful. We're having a peaceful experience. I don't see anybody who's upset. I don't get that vibe. But if we just say, oh, that was a nice class, or that was a nice meditation we did, then I'm discounting. We don't have to learn it over and over again, the oneness. We just have to claim the experience, and then it becomes our teacher. We know it. We're not believing it. We know it. So do you think it's our willingness, it's an unwillingness that makes us sometimes not claim it and say, oh, I'm not there yet, or what, it's going to look different. When I'm really there, then I'll never forget it, or whatever. Those are examples of what I mean.
Well, it gets really down to your ability. I'll use the word ability because it is an ability that you, over a period of time, you have to cultivate the ability to discern what voice you're listening to. The voice of the ego will always discount things and always give it an excuse. Oh, it happened because, and as soon as you use the word because, you're into fantasy, you know. So the ego takes over and says, oh, that only happened because, and then makes up a whole story why it happened. Spirit doesn't analyze. You know, there's a very famous line in the Course: spirit accepts, ego analyzes, or ego analyzes, spirit accepts. So acceptance is really one of my really big words. For me, acceptance and forgiveness is the exact same thing. I mean, we're all familiar with the thing I put up here a lot. What could you not accept if you but knew that everything that happens, all events, past, present, and to come, are gently planned by one whose only purpose is your good? It's like the script is already written. Ego says, well, I don't like the script, or I want to write my own script. I have my own rules. I made rules for myself and they protect me. If you're into protection and you're into rules, you're operating under the ego thought system. Willingness to accept is you are completely open, knowing that you're perfectly cared for. I mean, when he says, God is the strength in which I trust, which is lesson 47, and then he follows it with 48, there is nothing to fear. This is a fact. And the ego lives out of fear. If I don't do this, then this is going to happen. If I don't protect myself, if I don't defend myself, if I don't live under my rules, if I live under somebody else's. So it's always the ego's rules versus the spaciousness of the ocean or the spaciousness of open sky.
So
the ego,
what
go ahead, Rosalind.
What I'm taking from what you're saying is that there are two ways to get there. There's the progressive, where we can learn And we all have the experience of learning and really benefiting over time, where we hear our attack thoughts more easily, more frequently, and we become kinder, more loving people, and we build on that. Or you can go directly there and not go back to the voice, and or hear the voice and not be tempted. And that is what the direct is talking about. That and athletes, I mean, you could go to the gym and take your time building your muscles, but they found that athletes who accept the final destination without even using more weights can build their bodies the way they want it to be. So I think we shouldn't forget the opportunity, the one we know in the progressive path, we are making progress, but we also can give ourselves the opportunity to go there. I only want to say that because I have it 100% on Death and Melissa, 100%. I am not tempted to go back to the ego thoughts, 100%. I don't have it in the other areas of my life, but I know that it is possible to awaken to the understanding that we are the ocean and we are waves, and these feelings and thoughts do not need mind training unless we're going the progressive path. They can just be seen as visitors, and they're nothing. So they don't need to be analyzed or taken care of or chosen again. So I just want to speak to both. Both are possible.
Okay. I see Rafi wrote something. Rafi, do you want to just kind of,
And Rico's had his hand up.
okay.
Let's hear from Rafi.
We discussed it earlier. It's about my mind trying to convince me that there are enemies out there who are not going to like me, and if I'm not perfect, somehow they're going to kill me, which is of course just another false belief, which I've let go of dozens and dozens of times, and there might be still some left, but it can't get to me anymore. Because I see it when it comes, I welcome it. Oh, it's that again. Okay, well, I love you, very nice. And it's either one of the three wants that we really wanting approval, wanting control, wanting to be safe and secure, and you let it go, and it's gone. The same thing about it's trying to convince me when I walk out of the house in the morning, it says to me, "Well, you need glasses." I haven't worn glasses in like 15 or 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at it and say, oh, it's doing that again. And I just become the awareness of it. And then it just dissolves because it has no place to go. It has no place to fix, to hold on to. If you fight with it, like what you resist persists. It's gonna stay there and say, oh, I got an enemy. Now I'm right. And you know about that whole wanting to be right thing. I don't even have to go there. So
That's so beautiful, Rafi. Thank you for that teaching.
I just want to comment. That's one of the ways you can discern the egos speaking to you. Whenever it's about something outside of you, those people don't like me or those people don't approve of me. That's always the ego. Ego is always looking outside of you. Spirit doesn't look outside of you, it looks right at you and sees the Son of God, sees the perfect light that you are. Doesn't need to know from anything outside of you. So thank you for that, Rafi. Yes, Rico.
I didn't have anything heavy or deep. It was just a sidebar about I had a little aha moment with Lynn's poem. I want to thank you for sharing that with us. What happened for me was while you were reading the poem, I liked the literature, but what I had envisioned was as a tender little girl, even though I know sometimes you've been bullied and you think you wasn't liked, I think intuitively you knew all the time that you were part of the light. And you did that through your sunshine in the poem. And I just got to chill for a minute. So I just want to thank you for that poem.
Thank you. Rico. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rico.
What a beautiful man you are.
Mhm.
I just add one more note, please.
Sure.
Okay, one of the ego tricks is that is to try to protect yourself, try to protect itself or yourself with fear. And of course, that can't work. All you're doing is exacerbating the fear. But it's a trick of the ego to do that. It also tells you that if you want something real bad, that eventually, and you don't get it, then it says, I don't want it. Then it builds up an aversion to it. So you're constantly in that ego thing of going, the two sides of ego, like, don't like, up, down, in, out, good, bad, all of that other stuff. But the protecting yourself with fear is a trick that it uses, and it thinks you can justify it. And if you're not aware of it, then you get caught up in it. And you have to step back again and going, oh, I see what it's trying to do. It's trying to use fear as a shield, just so it can perpetuate fear, because that's what it knows. They're no good. This is no good. That's no good. We have to be, and you have to build up a barrier right away. Protect yourself, protect yourself. You get caught up in that game. And after a while, it's, you want to talk about insanity? Hello.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And I feel like the Course, and you can speak to this, anybody can. I feel like the Course wanted to teach us about egos, and it's not the only material that teaches us about egos. And then I know that we're supposed to let go of a belief in an ego. And we're supposed to let that go too. Now that we know its ways, it's not real, we know that. And we can bypass it. We're not going to bypass that we had a feeling, a thought, or a sensation. We're going to bypass the weight of it and let them, as Dove said, serve tea, have a conversation, argue, fight back, any of those things. And I just think it's important that we not get hooked on studying the ego, revering the ego. Do you know what I mean? Am I making?
Yeah. Yeah. I'd like to just mention how we kind of got into the area of pain. Earlier, a couple of days ago, Rosalind saw something I posted, and what I posted was the following. When you identify with what you are not, you're going to experience pain. Now, that was coming from the idea when you identify yourself as a body, and we know the Course of Miracles is very clear. I am not a body. I am free. I am spirit. So I am not the bad weather. I'm the sky. I'm not the wave. I'm the ocean. Okay. So if you identify with the body, you're going to focus on pain because you think a body has pain. But for those people who recognize, I think Rafi was kind of saying this, I don't go there. For instance, I have tinnitus in my left ear. And for a lot of people who have tinnitus, they actually call it, it's screaming devil. It's like a siren. I am completely unaware of my tinnitus or tinnitus, whatever word you want to use. I don't think of it at all. If I speak about it right now, I might hear something in my ear. That's the first time. But if you're willing to let go and remember the truth of what you are, the things that used to bother you and pain you will start to fall away. Because when you identify with what you are not, that's the ego. When you identify with what you are not, the ego comes into control. Well, yeah, you got to take care, you got to do this, you better work out, you better do this, you better do all these things, or else, if you don't do them, you're going to get sick, and you don't want to get sick, et cetera, et cetera. So exactly what Rafi was saying earlier, we build a defense system And the ego is in charge of our defenses. You know, the ego knows your weakest link because it built your defense system. It literally built your defense system and knows the things that you like. It knows the things that you don't like. And what do you think you're going to attract in this world? You're going to attract the things that you don't like because the ego is in charge. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. There's nothing wrong with attracting things you don't like because that's where your lessons are. See, the spirit uses the exact same thing to teach lessons because, as you know, the way I see the world is a classroom where we come to learn lessons. As it says on my card, be grateful for your triggers, the things that bother you, disturb you, take away your peace, because they give you an opportunity to reveal your underlying mistaken beliefs, which are the ego's beliefs. As Kenny Wapnick used to say, don't hang out with people that make you feel warm and fuzzy. It's okay to hang out with people where you're not so comfortable because that's where your lessons are. If you want to do this course on the fast track instead of at a snail's pace, it's okay to see where you're uncomfortable because that's where your lessons are.
Beautiful. Rico? You're muted, honey.
Story of my life. No, I said I forgot to put it down. Let me put it down.
Oh, okay.
I didn't have it
Kathleen,
down. I forgot to put my hand down.
okay. Kathleen, you were saying something struck you as funny. Can you share? Because we didn't catch it right away. We don't know what it was.
Oh, I don't remember now. It was
Okay.
something you said that was funny.
All right.
I want to just mention what I just posted in the chat. I just came across this today. Those people know anything about ACIM gather twice a week. We go deep dive into the text, and we're on to chapter 17, section 3, which is called Shadows of the Past. I never saw this before. I want to share it. In paragraph 8, it says the past becomes the justification for entering into a continuing unholy alliance with the ego against the present. So the ego or the body or the ego mind lives in time. And the course is very clear, time is the vast illusion. And as long as you identify with the body, you have a past, you're worried that the future is going to be somewhat like the past. So you want to prove yourself so the future is going to be better than the past. But you're bypassing the present. Notice the very next sentence. I never saw this before, and it's really a eureka. For the present is forgiveness. For the present, it's a 5-word sentence, and it tells you that forgiveness happens naturally in the present because there's nothing you're attached to in the present. You're in the eternal now. You're in the holy instant of now. And this now has nothing to do with the last now or with the next now. So every now is whole and complete unto itself, is the eternal now.
And guess
Notice-
what? Guess what? There's no ego there.
There's no ego in the now. Of course,
There
the
is
ego,
no ego.
the ego can
There's
only
no ego.
the ego can only live in time.
Yeah.
The
In your
ego-
mind, and in your feelings and in your sensations. It is not a thing. It is not a thing. And I think we have to keep remembering it's not real. If we all talk about it as though it's real, how are we going to break the illusion? It's amazing what Dove just said. Even forgiveness is not necessary because in the now, there's no judgment, there's no ego. And so it's complete acceptance. You're back to the ocean. You're back to being the wave. You're back to the innocence. And there's no separation. Dove, did you have more to say? Did I interrupt you?
No, that's all right. I was going to put this up. This reminds me of lesson 157, which some people consider the holiest lesson in the course. It says, into his presence would I enter now. Into his presence would I enter now. So again, you're talking about in the presence, you're actually with God now. Into his presence would I enter now. I just want to read what it says from lesson 157. This is a day of silence and of trust. It's a special time of promise in your calendar of days. It's a time that heaven has set apart to shine upon and cast a timeless light upon this day when echoes of eternity are heard. This day is holy, for it ushers in a new experience, a different kind of feeling and awareness. You have spent long days and nights in celebrating death. Death happens in time. We begin in time and we end in time. That's if you think you're a body. But when you come into the presence, into the kingdom, and you're going to be in the kingdom if your mind is at peace. But peace has one condition, and that's equality, to see all your brothers the same. You just can't go by yourself. You got to bring a brother with you to see that your brother, especially the one that you don't like, is really yourself. I mean, that's pretty much how the Course looks at it. So it says, you've spent long days and nights in celebrating death. Today, you learn to feel the joy of life. So I point out lesson 157, if you want to go and look at it. It's considered by many who look at lessons. I'm one of those people that see lessons as really markers, and lesson 157 is probably the holiest lesson in the Course.
And it's so beautiful if we take it in, the meaning of it. And if we take it into non-duality, we go right back to where we started tonight, where we're a wave in the ocean, and there isn't one special wave. They're all part of the ocean, and every wave is made up of the ocean. So there isn't a difference between a wave and an ocean. And that is what we are. That is what God is. We are what God is. There aren't two brothers. There aren't us and God. And I think we had that experience, and we can take lesson 157 and plug in the wave and the ocean and our experience and all the other waves that were there that are also part of the ocean. Please, Steph.
I want to mention one more aha I had today. I was talking to somebody about, he was asking me for some guidance. So I told him about 157. And then he said, are there any other lessons? So I mentioned lesson 1, which is nothing I see here means anything. Lesson 5, I'm never upset for the reason I think. That was Ken Wapnick's favorite lesson. And lesson 7, which says, I see only the past. And then I noticed that lesson 1, lesson 5, and lesson 7 is the 3 numbers that make up lesson 157.
That's wonderful. That's perfect.
Okay.
Well, let's end on that synchronicity and thank everyone for being here and for contributing your beauty, and into the oneness would we enter now. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Mwah.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I am one with that.
Amen.
Yeah.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, Rosalind. Thank you, Dove. Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Love you guys.
Love you.
Love
Bye.
you. Love you.